The works in the show are made from material I've generated collaboratively with groups of readers and speech-to-text software. I'm interested in how the particularities of each individual reader's voice, their tone, accent, cadence, intonation, the mistakes they might make, as well as the acoustics of the room, get captured by the software and transformed into new meanings. I see these interventions in the software as poetic acts of resistance, reasserting the sensibility of the individual readers and the texts. I find it very exciting the way a collective authorship emerges between reading, voicing, and listening, and between human and machine. After each group, I make a score from all the different versions of the texts that we've generated, to chart the ways that sounds changed into different words. The linear time of the reading becomes a grid of text, opening a space that you can read any way you want, left to right, right to left, in columns, or just letting phrases jump out. The series of framed works are made on pages of a book that I made from one of these scores. Only a small fragment of the score is visible on each page. I chose pages where I felt that this framing structure created self-contained moments, and I played with them, drawing or printing directly onto the pages, or printing or etching images onto the perspex that makes the front of the frame. I use the images to punctuate and annotate, obscuring or underlining different words, making notes and associations. I chose some of the images because they resemble actual punctuation marks or common annotations. Some also refer to ideas in the text themselves. The oyster shell that circles the sound change from oyster to voice that. Other images make further associations with the words on the page. Fungal mycelium of ergot, the cause of ergotism, also known as St. Anthony's fire, and a precursor to the synthesis of LSD, look like sets of brackets and are laid over a text which describes Freud's early experimentation with drugs. Other images refer to previous motifs in my work, like the mimicry of squid skin or the relationship between speaking and listening. The original text that we read passages from, by Judith Butler, Paul B. Preciado, Bruce Nauman, Virginia Woolf, Willem Flusser, and Gayatri Spivak, were all, in various ways, about porous boundaries, interpersonal, physical, sonic, visual, psychological, verbal. The voiceover of the video, Swathes Crossing, was made from versions of these texts and others, including The Temptation of St. Anthony by Flaubert. At the end of this book, there's an amazing psychedelic description of St. Anthony, hallucinating and confusing the animals, plants, and inanimate objects around him. Finally and blissfully, he feels that he is dissolving into his surroundings. This visual confusion, where one thing becomes another by looking like it, echoes the ways that words are transformed in the reading groups by sounding like another. I used St. Anthony's dissolution as a kind of anti-structure to work with all the versions of the different texts, editing and combining them to draw out rhythms and repetitions, surprise associations, as well as themes that resonate with the originals. Through the video, I want to induce a kind of listening that is simultaneously passive and active, where language washes over you, but where your imagination is snagged and hooked on certain parts, and you can create your own text from it. The image, slowed down footage of rushes blowing in the wind, acts in this same way. Its mesmerizing successive waves mimic the rhythms of the text. It's an emotional and visceral image. It makes me feel a little unsteady on my feet. It repeats itself, the stems blowing backwards and forwards, doing the same thing over and over, but always differently, and the slow wipe of the image over itself, creating an actual repetition, but one which gets lost as the edge of the frame disappears within the structure of the image.